as anyone who's lost the person they love most in the world knows, the shock and the sadness, you have no space for anything else in your world. And two things happened, not instantly, but over the course of the next year. I realized that the sadness at losing my mum is so overwhelming. I legitimately have no more energy to be angry and sad and frustrated at all the non-vegans in the world. I just don't have emotional capacity for that because I've lost my number one person.
Welcome to the Be It Till You See It podcast, where we talk about taking messy action, knowing that perfect is boring. I'm Lesley Logan, Pilates instructor and fitness business coach. I've trained thousands of people around the world, and the number one thing I see stopping people from achieving anything is self-doubt. My friends, action brings clarity, and it's the antidote to fear. Each week, my guests will bring bold, executable, intrinsic, and targeted steps that you can use to put yourself first and be it till you see it. It's a practice, not a perfect. Let's get started. Hi, Be It Babe. Okay, today's episode is really fun. First of all, this woman is just such like an angel when she just talks. It's just like you just want to listen to her stories. But also, I was really excited to chat with her because I knew we would talk about aligning your purpose and your beliefs. And I was like, okay, yes, you guys all need that. And then her expertise happens to be in a different topic. And I got so interested based on what she was saying that I had to go into what she also does, which is not normally what we do here on the show. We don't normally talk about being a plant-based eater, but actually, don't turn this off. I promise you, as someone who is a vegan who eats meat, I am as, consciously and environmentally sound as I can be with that. I've been really interested in changing that over. And so meeting someone like Kate has truly opened my eyes into something more positive and happy. And so whether or not you want that for yourself, I want you to listen to this interview because her approach to how she wants to change the world had to change at some point in her life. And I think we all have been in a place where we believe something and someone else we know does not believe that. And it just becomes this friction around us. And we get frustrated because we want things to happen faster. We want them to believe in it sooner. We want them to change everything sooner. And the truth is that that's not necessarily the way that you get people to be on board with your journey. And so I really, I think you can insert any of the words she's using for your beliefs and see how you can use her experience to support you in your journey and what you want to do. Also, her beat action items are amazing. She hit the bold, executable, intrinsic, and targeted. So she's a winner. Here is Kate Galli. All right, Be It Babe. I have a really fun guest. I was looking up all the things they're doing. I really enjoyed how they described a business from hell and still prioritizing themselves. I was like, oh, if someone can do that, then that is a Be It Till You See It podcast guest if I ever saw one. So Kate Galli, can you tell everyone who you are and what you rock at?
Lesley, it is my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. I am a health coach, author, and fellow podcaster, and I help vegans and the plant-based curious to any degree prioritize their health and happiness and thrive with plants. The happiness component is really core to what I do. And how I do that is I help people create the mindset that makes prioritizing their most effective eating and exercising actions simple, sustainable, and fun. Lesley, I will say everything I speak to is mindset related. So it is applicable to anyone with a health goal, no matter what way you choose to eat. So everyone's welcome. A little bit about, how I got into what I do as a health coach. I was a debilitatingly shy teenager and I joined the gym and started lifting weights specifically to, yes, transform my body, also to transform my confidence. And that is one of the things that I love most about what I do now, whether it's in the gym with clients or coaching clients online, is to see this transformation so far as confidence and the ability to back yourself. That is something that I am incredibly passionate about seeing in others.
Yeah, I agree. I think like sometimes people think like when you say confidence and working out, it's often like it is the look of it, the aesthetics of it. But as someone who lifts at the gym as well, the when I pick up a heavier set of dumbbells, like there's something really powerful about that. And like so it's actually like I think hopefully becoming more and more normalized that like when you can give yourself a pull up even if it's assisted, when you can actually do 10 push-ups when before you had to take breaks, like you are building confidence in yourself because you're showing yourself how much stronger you are. And I think like we, of the strength that we all have is something we can all work on, and we have to work on all the time. And so I love that you also highlighted happiness. And I think that's really important because I do think that when people go on any kind of health journey, at some point they start doing it as a form of punishment and and not a form of pleasure. How did like was that your journey? Were you always a happy workout person, or like did you have to find that along the way?
I was probably always a happy workout person. However, I certainly overdid it. I remember in my early 20s when I was new to the gym and wasn't a personal trainer yet, I'd do an hour weights and an hour cardio 6 days a week. And I remember a trainer coming up to me and saying, the more you do with your exercise, the more you have to do. And the less you eat with your food, the less you have to eat. And it didn't really click at the time. But as you said, in hindsight, I was a bit about punishment, certainly with the cardio component, never really liked that. And certainly about restriction with the food component too. There were so many foods that I was fearful of, whether it's fat because it made me fat or gave me pimples, those were my misbeliefs, or whether I was fearful of carbohydrates, which I was for like a decade probably. Definitely those were some of the things that, made it less fun than it could be. And I think in recent years, even though I've had the fitness component so locked and loaded, I lost the happiness a little bit because I'm so passionate about my mission. And I'm sure you can relate to this, or many listeners can relate to this. We get this drive and this just focus and purpose and just go, go, go. And it's effective until it isn't. And it does get us results. However, the enjoying the journey and the prioritizing the happiness is something that I've really looked to focus on, honestly, just in the past couple of years.
Yeah. I understand that too. Like I think I grew up going, well, I'll just work harder. Like, if I just work harder, I get better grades. Like if I work harder, I can make more. Like, if you just work extra hours, you get paid more. And then like I start your own business because you're like, I have this impact I want to make. I have this vision I want to do. And because you're so driven for it, it's pretty easy to just keep going. But at some point you wake up and going, oh my God, what am I doing? Like I am my own worst boss. I'm so hard on myself. I'm not happy. I'm doing the thing I said would make me happy, and I'm not and I'm not happy. And so there's some place where like the purpose you have on this planet and you get misaligned. So you're doing the thing, but you're not enjoying the doing of the thing. And so I feel like we all have to kind of go through that to actually get on the right path. Because I don't know. I mean, maybe it's possible just to enjoy the be on purpose and enjoy it all at the same time. But I feel like for a lot of us, we have to go, hold on, where did I make a wrong turn? Or why am I not doing this? How did you find that?
Oh, so much. First, I just want to say also that approach doesn't sell the lifestyle. When I was the extreme personal trainer, they might kind of think, oh, that's slightly inspirational. However, that's too much for me to even try what she does with her food and exercise. Same go with the veganism, right? When I was the angry vegan, that is not selling anyone on the lifestyle. I'm not welcoming people on board. So, I made the change in the hardest, harshest possible way. I don't know how it would have come about if life didn't jump in the way and slap me in the face. But I'll try not to be so long with this. It is a bit heavy, but when I was first vegan, I'd been vegan a couple of years and I was very much an animal rights activist. This is maybe, I don't know, 6 years ago now. And I was coming home for Christmas and my dear mum rang me and she said, Katie, I don't know what to do about Christmas because you're the animal rights activist and your dad's anti-vegan and it's all about food. And we always had conflict, Lesley. My dad and we had conflict always, but more so when I gave up all animal products. And She said, unless you want to mastermind a vegan feast and sell the family on it. I'm like, done. I will mastermind that feast. Perhaps you could sell the family on it. We had an amazing Christmas. I made 8 new dishes. The food was fantastic. Mum was so grateful. When I was about to fly home to Sydney after that holiday, she said, Katie, will you watch What the Health with me? Now, that's a documentary I had been emotionally blackmailing her to try and watch ever since I became vegan. Ineffective, surprisingly. And so after I'd made all that effort, she watched it with me. She said, I'll try this plant-based thing for a couple of weeks. Years later, she's still plant-based. She's becoming more animal rights activist like me. Our relationship could not be stronger. Not the best for her relationship with my father. Anyway, 3.5 years ago now, I got the phone call from my father that I always thought I'd get from my mum. Dad's not the healthiest with the way he eats or thinks. And I always thought I'd get the phone call from mum, Katie, it's your dad. And I got the phone call from dad, Kate, it's your mum. And mum had died suddenly. And I'd spoken to her that morning, a Sunday morning at 7 a.m. as I walked along the beaches like we spoke every single morning. And by 3 p.m., she was gone. And as anyone who's lost the person they love most in the world knows, the shock and the sadness, you have no space for anything else in your world. And 2 things happened, not instantly, but over the course of the next year. I realized that the sadness at losing my mum is so overwhelming. I legitimately have no more energy to be angry and sad and frustrated at all the non-vegans in the world. I just don't have the emotional capacity for that because I've lost my number one person. I also realized that with mum, I have no regrets. We both knew how much we loved and respected each other. 100% no regrets there. If that had been my father, I would have had regrets because our relationship was not as it should be. And a huge component of that was the judgment I held towards him for his actions. And so bit by bit, I forced myself out of that angry vegan. And, life was just all about spreading this message back then. That is all it was about, animal rights, nothing else, no space for anything else. Wasn't effective. I wasn't happy. And so that is what forced me out of it. And I don't know what else would have, sadly.
Mhm. I'm so sorry, but I really appreciate you sharing because I think we could insert any word for vegan and anti-vegan. I
100%.
think we can insert
Yes.
political parties, we can insert like different all the different things because
Mm-hmm.
it becomes this like thing in the middle. And when families get together, it's just like it's glaringly there and it starts to
Yeah.
feel personal because they're personal to us and we love them. We're like, how can I love someone who is against something I care about so much?
100%.
So I just appreciate you sharing that because I definitely think your story, I think anyone can listen to. And even if you aren't going plant-based or that's not something you care about, there is someone in your life who doesn't care as much about one thing or cares differently than you do. And you can think about like, okay, I'm going to have regrets there. So what can I do about it? The other thing is it's really, and this is kind of like a sad funny, but like I'm not plant-based totally. They call me a vegan who eats meat because I'm like very dairy free. I'm a lot of I'm not so grain free anymore, but I there's a lot of grains I just can't eat. They don't do well. I can't do oats. Oat milk was my favorite. That's not a thing I can do. Like I'm out on that. But like at any rate, I choose to eat some meats that we're very particular about, like how they're farmed, all the different things. But we're because of that, we're very aware of other people's dietary needs. And so Brad or somebody was like, "Oh, are they vegan?" I'm like, "Oh, you would know. If they were vegan, we would already know." Like, and it's because, and maybe not so more anymore, but like back when you became a vegan, like that was kind of the thing. Like you wore it on your shirt, you were telling everyone
You
to
did.
do it. And I think that what we have learned through so much of this is that whatever it is we care about, yelling at people about how wrong they are is never going to get them to want to join us.
Mm-hmm.
That's just not the way to do it. You have to figure out like what is it that they care about and how can what they care about align with what we care about and we can like show, they have to experience it. They have to have their time. So anyways, I think that's really beautiful. So how did you, so tell me what's next. So like then you still wanted to stay on your purpose and your path and your journey of being plant-based, but how did you align changing how you went about it to that purpose?
So it's a constant battle, right? It's a constant daily awareness. One thing that helps me is with my podcast, I've interviewed like literally hundreds of the most passionate and compassionate activists, authors, athletes around the world. And I look at the ones who seem effective and happy in what they do. And I will say, I've got mad respect for any type of activist, even the most extreme ones. However, they're not the happiest, and I worry about their health. And I think they only survive because they live in their little vegan bubble and they only associate with other vegans. If they had to integrate into the world and associate with all their non vegan friends and family all the time, which is the path I've chosen to, all of my family now and friends basically are non vegan, you have to prioritize that happiness. And I actually made it a little bit actionable to help myself get there. I have an ABC, and A is an awareness of how my life was going to look in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, if I kept going down that same path. My relationship with my father would be even worse. My relationship with my colleagues, my clients, just random strangers. There was a lot of pain about how it was going to happen if nothing changed. So then B is for brainstorm. I thought, what are some of the things I need to stop doing? I stopped sharing those brutal posts on social media because to share them, you have to see them and then you get hate comments. I stopped having those conversations and everyone knows them, whether it's about politics, as you say, or religion or a war, whatever it is. You know that conversation that isn't going to end well because either you and the other person hard disagree, or in some scenarios, especially with veganism, they're just up for the debate. They don't really care either way. They're just like, let's have a debate with this crazy vegan, right? I stopped those conversations. And what I started doing is I started sharing happy, good news stories. I actually created a whole email every week around the good news story. I started sharing delicious recipes. I started sharing delicious food, which, by the way, was my mum's very effective approach. So I'm modeling the love and compassion and deliciousness that she led with in the few years she was plant-based. So those are the things I started doing. And the C is for a commitment. This is why I so widely share I'm no longer an angry vegan, because you can bet when little angry activist Kate makes an appearance, someone's going to call me on it, right? They're going to go, hey, aren't you now the vegan that leads with love and compassion and deliciousness? So it's kind of a form of accountability. So, that's the way that I had to have a talk to myself as well, because initially there was, I guess, an awareness that was I letting the animals down by no longer flying the flag so aggressively? And I came to the decision, and I talk about this all the time with guests on my podcast, that it's not necessarily what feels right in our heart all the time. It's what is effective,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if my big picture is what it is, then I need to take the most effective actions to get there. And they might not always be my natural instinct. Sometimes I just need to calm down, get clear on what my vision is, and then take that more effective action.
I love this. I love this. Again, you can apply this to anything, but I think it's actually like an awareness of what you want, brainstorm all the different ways you're going to do that, and then commit to doing it. Like that's whatever it is. But I do think that what I want to highlight more is like, I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be all or nothing people. That if we're not all in, then it's not going to work. And I understand like the people who talk about manifesting. You have to do all the things, but that's so much pressure, and it's not always attracting people on the journey. So I love that you made really good just shared really good recipes with people. I think like when people don't realize that like it can taste really good, you know what I mean? Like you can actually make things taste good with it. You can sneak them in. It's like, oh, like I had one of my girlfriends was a happy herbivore, and she read all the books about the happy herbivore, and she made a cheese ball that was like insane. And I would just be like, how do I make this cheese ball at home? Like it's the most amazing thing because I can't do dairy. I miss it. I miss cheese. I want a cheese ball. I want to be with the people. They're having cheese at the Super Bowl. I want to have it. And she
Yeah.
showed me. And then all of a sudden it's like, you just put it out, you don't tell people what it is. And they tip in, they're like, this is amazing. It's like, so like sometimes it's like you have to, you get more, bees with honey, right? Like that's really what it
Yes.
is. So And apologize to the vegans listening if you're against the honey part. I know some people like it, some people don't, there's a whole thing. So anyways, but I think it is that what is the most effective approach to get people to understand what you're wanting them to do? And in
Mhm.
any vision, you have to paint the picture of something beautiful that people want to be
Yes.
part of. And
Yeah.
sometimes if we're shouting from the rooftops too loud about all the bad things, it makes people feel almost paralyzed. And they're like, I don't even know
Mhm.
what to do next. So I'm actually gonna stand firm in what I'm doing because I don't, so
Yeah.
what an amazing thing you did. And also I like that you use the a public accountability to help you stay on, because yeah, we all have instincts. It's like, I'm just going to yell at that person because that's what I want to do, because that's going to that's going to make me feel good, but it's not necessarily going to get you what you want.
No, agreed, 100%.
So, okay, we haven't ever really talked about plant-based, and I kind of want to get into it just because I know that you have such a wonderful approach to it. How how easy it is to be a plant-based eater, because I think some people get overwhelmed with, like, if where am I going to get my protein? Where am I gonna all these things? And so it starts to feel like, how do I change over? Is this something that you do in a step-by-step approach? Is this something like you like try to switch people over all the way? What's the form of action that's easy for people?
For sure. A little background, I made it harder than I needed to initially for myself. Before I became vegan 9 years ago, I'd been vegetarian for 23 years. So no meat for 23 years. By that point in time, I'd been a personal trainer. So a low carb, high protein vegetarian personal trainer for a decade. I decided I needed to be vegan. I rocked into the gym and announced to all the other trainers in this gym bro type of a gym that I was going vegan. One of them said, well, goodbye, lean muscle mass. And I realized that if this didn't work for me, it would reflect really badly on the lifestyle. So I put a lot of pressure into basically calculating not just the macronutrients, they're actually quite easy, but all the micronutrients that I needed to hit in every single meal. So my meals just were a lot of effort and not so much deliciousness early days. I made it really hard because I had that point to prove, you know. Cut to the chase, nothing changed, right? I didn't gain any fat. I didn't lose any muscle or strength. I gained some energy. It was all good, but I made it hard. So now I look to make it easier for other people. I have a coaching program where I focus on clarity, confidence, and consistency. I think they're really important with any health goal. And the clarity is actually where we look into building huge emotional intensity around your why. And we also align that why, or more so the actions you need to take to achieve that why, with your most important values and beliefs. So that's getting really clear on your vision and the huge emotional intensity and how it's aligned with those emotional states that you're most drawn to. That clarity will pull you through those struggle street days that we all get with any health goal. The confidence, that's where the food comes in. Also, we're handling relationships with non-vegan loved ones or whatever it might be. So, yeah, in the confidence component, I am all about, hey, this is the anatomy of a healthy plant-based meal. This is what it looks like if your goal is muscle gain. You can obviously gain muscle, but you've got to be really aware, not just plant protein, that's pretty easy. You've got to be aware of caloric density. Often, for example, a big guy with lots of muscle, not to stereotype, but say there's the guy that's already happy with his physique. He might try plant-based for the environment, for his health, whatever it may be, and he might lose a lot of weight just because he's swapped steak for spinach or something. That's not going to work. It needs to be swapped for sweet potato and black beans, with more caloric density, stuff like that. So that's the confidence, and then consistency is helping people stay on track.
Yeah, I think I appreciate you talking about those, like, different ways to do it, and like what are your actual health goals for it, because it
Yeah.
is true. I think people think I think we're past the point people thinking it won't taste good. I mean, every vegan restaurant I've ever been to makes you realize that you can have vegan comfort food and it is amazing. Like, you can have all of that, but it is can I also lift the way I want to lift? Can I do the hobbies that I want to have? And I think, like, having joy in our lives is really important. And I think having joy outside of what we eat, but like in the things we do, but how we eat and how we fuel ourselves affects the things that we do. So I appreciate that you shared that. I mean, I will just say, like, here in the States, we have, in the moment that we're recording, we have a massive bird flu problem, which is why,
Hmm.
and it's been going on for a long time. And so eggs have been creeping up and all that. I live in a state where the eggs must be cage free. So I was actually like, well, that works. I think that that's great. They have to be cage free. I think that can't be bad. But what does that mean? It means our eggs are like $20 for a 12 pack. So I was just like, all right, so we're going to have to think about, maybe we're going even more plant-based than we were before. And like, how do I, as a 42-year-old woman who wants to stay strong, who wants to have the energy to do the business that I do, like I have to film workouts for Pilates and stuff like that. How do I reduce animal protein, put it to plant protein, and and also like, keep up what I've got, continue to remain strong, and then hopefully it's cheaper than than the $20 eggs. Like that would be great.
100%. I've got you. It is cheaper. Two things. First off, you need to look at tofu scramble to replace those eggs. My dear mum, when she first went plant-based, hated tofu. I won her over with tofu scramble over crispy baked smashed potatoes. Loved it. So there are so many delicious recipes out there that you can make en masse. I would also say I also have a 5S strategy for plant-based protein, for just inserting it into your meals. And I can
want to
run through
hear
that
it.
strategy.
I want to
Yeah.
hear it if you don't mind, because all of my ladies are over 40. They have heard from all the different health people, we have to have protein. With
Yeah.
perimenopause and menopause, like make sure you're doing your protein. Don't overdo the cardio. So we're all on base with you. So what's the 5S's?
Awesome. So the first S is for the star. So that's when the plant-based protein is the star of the meal. And that's what you used to think of your protein like, right? So it's the steak was the old way. The star might now be the lentils in a curry, right? Or the marinated tofu. It's one kind of hunk or decent serve of the plant-based protein. The next S is for scatter over. You've got your regular meal, maybe your oats, not for you, Lesley, but for someone else who can have oats, and you scatter over your hemp seeds, more protein per gram than beef, your pumpkin seeds, whatever it might be. The third S is for a stir through. Again, you've got your meal. It's delicious. Maybe it's a little bit lacking in the protein. And so you stir through your plant-based protein powder into your cereal or your whatever it may be into your soups. You're just stirring through that additional plant protein. Next up is one of my favorites. It's the side. So maybe I just want that meal, that salad that I've made for everyone else to go with their meal, and it is delicious and abundant. It's just lacking in plant-based protein. So I'll have a side of a cup of edamame or crispy chickpeas or whatever it may be. The fifth sneaky one is the sauce. Early days PT, personal trainer, a lot of sauces were like high caloric density and low nutritional value and just made of processed oils and all of this rubbish. A lot of the plant-based sauces are amazingly full of sneaky protein, like a silken tofu in a tofu ricotta type of a sauce, or an edamame guac, so guacamole that's chock full of edamame or whatever it may be. So yeah, they're the 5S's, and I use a combination of them every single day. I could make it 6 and make it the snack as well. So yeah, there's lots.
I love that. I love that. There's a snack that I love when my husband makes me. It's this popcorn with spirulina,
Oh,
a little bit of nutritional yeast, some
okay.
salt, and I believe there is a little bit of garlic, or maybe there's like tiny bit of something that just gives it a little bit of spice. And so, yes, your fingers turn like green, or blue.
Yes.
So he's like, he eats it with chopsticks. I'm not so good. So I'm like, well, we'll just eat and then we'll wash our hands. But I love that snack because also with all that stuff added, you actually end up with protein on your popcorn. Like it's like, dude, there's a way to find these different things and also get all the nutrition from that. Really. So I don't know, Kate, I didn't expect to go into this thinking, maybe I'm going to be more plant-based after this, but I think, I think
Love
I am,
that
just
for you.
because, I mean, my husband and I are already very big on the environment. We're very conscious of like, if we're going to eat animal protein, like how are we getting it? Where is it coming from? We really try to make sure we're really good about that as best we can. But at this point, some point you go, okay, now it's just becoming more expensive to even do that.
Yeah.
And that's not, we're not attached to that. We're not attached to it. So I think this is really cool, but also I really love the idea of like kind of figuring out which S I want it to be, how I want to do it, and then be kind to ourselves about trying to add it in, because it can be overwhelming and we can't do all or nothing. So we have to be able to start to, maybe it's like one meal a day that we, change and then go from there.
100%. And you mentioned like cost of living, all of that. When I used to be a plan of meal prep and was very exacting with that, but now I just do food prep where I prep individual components on the weekend and I can make a variety of meals. And, when I prep my dried chickpeas, which takes no time, or my dried lentils, that is just a colossal amount of very cost effective plant protein that I can just use in almost a limitless number of meals. And my dried chickpeas and lentils really aren't going up in price. They're incredibly cheap.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think we got so much from you today. We got being it till we see it and being happy and checking our approach and to our purpose on this planet. And then we got some just tips to like adjust our life, because I do think that no matter what you want to do in this world, what we forget is that our food is fuel. And if your food is not fueling you in a way that actually allows you to show up confidently with energy and stamina and things like that, then you are distracted from the purpose that you have on this planet.
100%. Yeah. And whatever your huge purpose is, it is sadly going to take longer than you would most love. So you better be fueling your body well and looking after yourself in all the other ways to have, as you said, the sustainability to be in it long term, because it is going to take a while.
Yeah. I know. Sorry, folks. You heard it here from Kate. In case you haven't heard it from my mouth, Kate's telling you, like, everything just
Yeah,
takes longer than we want. And it's not
for sure.
because you're not great at it. It's not because you aren't deserving of it. It's not because in hindsight, you realize you should have left when you went right. It's because you becoming the person you have to be who can do the thing has to
Yeah,
get there. You yourself are a muscle that has to be trained and cultivated and strengthened and challenged to get to the place you want to go.
completely agree.
Mm. Kate, I think you're amazing. I could talk to you forever. We're going to take a brief break and then find out where people can find you, follow you, work with you. All right, Kate, where do you like to hang out? Where can people connect more if they want to nerd out and just get to know you and work with you more?
The best place is the main website. So that's strongbodygreenplanet.com. Via the site, you'll find my plant positive journal dedicated to my dear mum, my healthification podcast, and basically everything else that I do online. So strongbodygreenplanet.com.
Oh, love it. We'll have all that linked below. Before we let you go, I know you've given us a lot of great things to think about, but for our people who are like, okay, I'm really drawn to Kate, I really love what she's talking about, what are some bold, executable, intrinsic, or targeted steps they can take to be it till they see it?
I've got to say, my number one go to is to elicit your own personal values if you haven't yet. So, your values are those emotional states that you are naturally drawn to. Think of where you spend your time, your energy, your money. My top two are freedom and integrity, but there's no right or wrong. Yours might be love, connection, truth, whatever they are. Elicit those values and align them with your most important goal or vision, more so align with them with the actions you need to take to achieve that goal or vision. That's going to be bold, because when you have this big powerful vision that's about more than just you, you're going to be more inclined to stick to it and take those bold actions. It's going to be executable because you have alignment. That is everything. Alignment between what you're looking to achieve and the daily actions you're taking is so much more powerful. It's intrinsic because what you're looking to do is aligned with your heart. Now, you're not stopping yourself. You're not fighting yourself. I call this the stop fighting yourself part of the process. And finally, it's targeted because, again, you have absolute clarity on where you're looking to go and what you're looking to achieve.
You're so great. We are lucky to have gotten to know you today. I feel just so honored to have met you, inspired. I'm really excited to hear how our Be It Pod listeners apply this, what they take out of this, what their favorite part is. So you all make sure that you tag the Beit Pod, tag Kate, and make sure that she hears what your takeaways are. Reach out to her at Strong Body Green Planet, right?
Perfect.
I just think it's really amazing. And I think your approach is something, again, I'll say it one more time for everyone. You can apply this to anything that you care about. And it's going to make life more fun, because it certainly isn't fun to be around the dinner table with people who are like, you know that there's just going to be, they're going to say the one thing and they're going to do it just to piss you off, to see if you can get there. And like, if you can just remember what is the purpose and how can we attract them, and what can we lovingly educate as opposed to yelling. I think it's a wonderful way for us all to be it till we see it. So Kate, thank you so much. Everyone, you know what to do. Until next time, be it till you see it.
That's all I got for this episode of the Be It Till You See It podcast. One thing that would help both myself and future listeners is for you to rate the show and leave a review. And follow or subscribe for free wherever you listen to your podcast. Also, make sure to introduce yourself over at the Be It Pod on Instagram. I would love to know more about you. Share this episode with whoever you think needs to hear it. Help us and others be it till you see it. Have an awesome day.
Be It Till You See It is a production of the Bloom Podcast Network. If you want to leave us a message or a question that we might read on another episode, you can text us at +1 310 905 5534 or send a DM on Instagram at beitpod.
It's written, filmed, and recorded by your host, Lesley Logan, and me, Brad Crowell.
It is transcribed, produced, and edited by the Epic team at Diseño.co.
Our theme music is by Ali at Apex Production Music, and our branding by designer and artist Gianfranco Cioffi.
Special thanks to Melissa Solomon for creating our visuals.
Also to Angelina Herrico for adding all of our content to our website. And finally, to Meredith Root for keeping us all on point and on time.